Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome and thank you so much for joining us for our webinar on remote internships. I am Adam Anthony. I'm the Assistant Dean for Washington Semester Programs here at American University. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for our session. We're very excited to have you. We have a very eclectic group of folks represented today in this webinar. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Washington Semester Programs and the kind of programs that we offer here at AU. Then I'm going to turn things over to my colleague, Terrell Austin, who's going to be our host for today. And she's going to talk a little bit about the opportunities that we have and we have discovered in terms of remote internships. And then we're going to turn it over to our panelists. And we're going to reserve the bulk of the time for the panelists to talk, but then also for you all to be able to ask questions. So if you notice down at the bottom, you have a Q&A button. Please feel free to use that Q&A button. If a question comes to you while we're talking, go ahead and put it in there. My colleague Marissa Whitaker, when we're done, will moderate the Q&A. Here at the School of Professional Extended Studies, we run a number of programs that focus on internships. AU has been running a program, the Washington Semester Program, since 1947. We have had internships for about 50 years featured in this program. And so we have a lot of experience about internships. We have a lot of employer partners that have helped employ students over the years. So we have seen a lot about student internships. And so we're very happy to be able to help you and help ourselves navigate this new world in terms of remote internships. The three specific intern programs that we run, one is the Washington Semester Program. It is a fall and spring program. We'll have generally about 100 students a semester come to us from all over the country and spend a semester at AU as AU students working internships. We still are accepting actually applications for that program, and so it is possible, particularly with AU's move this week announcement, that we are able to accommodate students who are online and in person for this program, that it is something that students could do this upcoming fall. We also manage a mentorship program for AU incoming first-year students, and I know we have a number of those students on this call. And then we also operate a GAP program. And the GAP program is for first and second year students from other schools to be able to come and do an internship and also take some coursework to move forward their college career. So a lot of opportunities, lots of internships. It has, like for many organizations, been a challenge to make this transition from in-person internships to online internships. And the thing that I think that we are pretty convinced about is this is the future of internships, and that it's important for students and employers to understand how to manage remote internships now, because this is the way we're going. We'll always have in-person internships, but increasingly we're going to see students doing things remotely and employers needing to manage students remotely. And so it's fantastic that you've started here, and we have a few pioneers, if you will, students and employers, about how it's been done so far. And so hopefully this is adding to the conversation. So with that, I'm gonna, my three colleagues here from American University, I'm gonna let them introduce themselves, and then Terrell will take over and we'll start the program. Terrell?
Thanks, Adam. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. I want to just let you know a little background for this webinar. The impetus for the webinar was a Wall Street Journal article that appeared earlier this month by Nancy Keene, in which she interviewed several Washington Semester Program students and AU GAP students and their supervisors about their internships and their experiences working and mentoring students online. When everything shut down this past spring, we had 85 students who had to pack up and go home, and continue their DC internships online. And no one was really sure how this would go. Not that anyone had a choice about it, but that was a big unknown. But when we surveyed students at the end of spring semester, we were really pleasantly surprised to find that most of them had really good experiences. The Wall Street Journal article came at a time when there was just a sea of bad news about what kind of opportunities were going to be available for interns, for college students, and for recent graduates. And so this was a little bright spot, a little good news, and we thought it merited a deeper conversation with some of the people who were interviewed in the article. So we have some of those folks here. We have some students who did the spring experience. They're going to talk about that. We actually invited some students who are doing our program this summer who couldn't come because they're too busy with their internships. So that was interesting. So I'd like to just let you know who's here, who's going to be talking to you today, and then hand it over. First, my colleague, Amy Morrill-Bijeau, who is our Director of Experiential Education at AU. She works with our internship sites and with our students. So she really is the glue that holds the program together. We also have here the Executive Director of American Forum, Denice Zeck, who is a regular supervisor and mentor to our students. We have Justin Lewis, who is Government Relations Manager at Lafayette. Hello, Justin. Thank you for coming. We also have Sydney Goggans from Spelman College in Atlanta, who is doing an internship with us this summer. And actually Denice, she's working with Denice at American Forum. We have Jasmine Hoskins, who's from Santa Clara University, who is here, and also Shelby Doren from Siena University. So with no more ado, I'm going to turn it over to Amy to talk a little bit about the future of internships and what's happening.
Great. Thanks so much, Terrell. So here in AU's Washington semester programs, we're taking our veteran experience and pivoting that into this modern world and challenges in the pandemic to meet students where they are and teach them professional skills and internships. We have about 3,500 employer contacts that we've cultivated across these over 7 decades of our experience. We're leveraging our reputation for excellence, and we turned very quickly, as Terrell mentioned, about 100 students who are here in the spring pivoted to their online internship, so it ended up being a hybrid experience. This summer, we're 100% virtual, and we're supporting students to learn meaningful professional skills. We've created guidelines for students and employers to follow with ongoing mentoring. Our guidelines have the following, for example, where students have to focus on a substantive project that will give good value for professional skill development. So students might be working on research, writing, developing presentations, attending meetings, getting involved in assessment and evaluations. And then on the employer side, students are training students with regular conferences, online training, perhaps LinkedIn learning through observation and shadowing. The feedback from employers comes through weekly meetings, often in a format similar to what we're doing, whether it would be a Zoom meeting via Skype and other formats. And when it comes to our evaluations, here with the guided faculty who are supervising students in their academic internships, there's a midpoint and then end of semester evaluation. Students do self-assessment on how they themselves perceive their progress. That is coupled with the supervisor feedback along with the faculty members' review as well. And this is all happening in Washington, D.C. offices that are in and around near the White House and the new Black Lives Matter Plaza. students are participating in and reporting on exactly the things that are going on in the pandemic and this very rapidly changing modern world. So we have parlayed these many employer contacts into, here are some examples of the employer contacts: the Advanced Energy Economy internship position, the Association for Diplomatic Studies and Training with returned Foreign Service officers from Department of State, Liberty Wealth Management, Men's Health Network, the National Defense University, New Light Technologies, the National Peace Corps Association, SOS Children's Villages, the Wilson Center, Voice of America, Washington Corps, Lobby It, American Forum, and many more. And with that as the pivot, let me now pass this over to Denice Zeck from American Forum, so she can give you some more concrete evidence of what students are learning when it comes to their professional skill building. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Amy. We have actually, American Forum has actually worked with AU for, I would say, decades. I don't know how long it's been, but we've had interns from AU as a major part of how we operate. And so this is a pivot for us, but I always find that the interns add so much value to everything that we do. Just their insights into everything, being part and kind of like, almost like focus groups for us in terms of identifying, what's new, what's changing. The initiatives that they take on are fantastic. We do weekly Zoom meetings, and we have, I think, probably over 10 interns now from a variety of different sources from all over the country. In some ways, that's great because you can pull in more people, more interns than we could have before when we're limited by space. So there's an added value that we have interns from, Alabama and Kansas and all different kind of places around the states. And we'd love to have one from every state if possible. And then one of the things that we do, which I think is important, is to have the interns. We have a checklist of things. We're a media organization, so we want to make sure that people get a real feel for what the traditional media does, but also social media, and a checklist of things that they want to walk away from with the internship skill-wise. And then the second thing that we like to do is to come up with an initiative that the interns can work together on. And this year we're doing something related to voting and writing articles about voting. And in fact, Sydney just wrote a piece that got published in Georgia about Gen Z voters. And she's a prolific writer because we just got another piece from her today, so that's great. So the other thing that we ask our interns to do is to write a piece, and we place that piece at some point during the internship program so that they actually get the feel of what it's like to deal with the traditional media as well. And then on their own initiative, they're coming up with a website. They have a survey that they've come up with, which is, we'd love help in sending that out to a lot of different universities. Where do young people go to get their news today? How has that changed? That, I think, is going to be very valuable for a lot of organizations in terms of trying to connect. And it's actually an online thing too, because as we're now more remote, how do we rethink connecting with that? I think that those are a lot of advantages that we have. It's just the ability to do things remotely in some ways expands what we can do, expands who we can connect with, expands some of the opportunities, and allows us, because this generation is so online savvy, allows us to sort of rethink how things are operating, how things operate in this new environment, where you're not necessarily in a room together, you're more remote. How do we connect with people? What can we do? Other things that the interns are working on are podcasts, developing podcasts, and just a lot of great ideas that come out of these connections that we wouldn't have otherwise without bringing a lot of interns together to really brainstorm. So I can't speak highly enough about internship programs. I was actually an intern myself. I'm not going to tell you what decade, but it was many, many years ago. And I've always firmly believed, and always that's been a center part of what we do, finding internships, interns, mentoring them, hiring them. I have interns from 10 years ago who still come back and visit. So it's those relationships that you can build. And I feel like that can still be built with an online in an online presence. It would be great at some point when there's a vaccine or whatever, to bring everybody together, maybe to AU, so we can actually connect, in person and make those personal connections. I think the drawbacks are more that from maybe the intern side is that they can't, build the relationships on a more social level that you normally would do if you're, an intern and you're going out to dinner afterwards or taking classes together and that kind of thing. But, we try and do what we can to alleviate that. We try and be available 24/7. We try and answer questions in a timely manner. We try and make sure that we have at least one Zoom call a week, maybe 2 Zoom calls a week if needed. We try and add the skill elements. Last week we did a Zoom call on how to pitch to newspapers. So we open that up and then people can come into the Zoom call for that. So I think that's kind of just a short summary of what we do. I don't know if I took up 5 minutes or 10 minutes, but I definitely would love to have 153 interns if possible, or how many are signed up. So all over the world.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Denice. Justin?
Sure.
Hi, thank you, Amy. And hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be on this webinar. I'm excited to tell you more about my employer and managing internships remotely. So let me tell you a bit about Lobbyit. Lobbyit is a boutique federal government relations firm located on Capitol Hill. We were founded in 2009, and our firm has grown to have more than 30 clients today. The majority of our clients are nonprofit, business, and professional associations, along with a couple of universities, a medium-sized city, and a handful of small and medium-sized businesses. These clients span a variety of policy issues, including clean energy, foreign affairs, healthcare, education, taxation, and several more. Our unique business model allows us to represent organizations that don't have the financial resources for a traditional DC lobbying firm. In most cases, we're our clients' only government relations representatives at the federal level. In addition to our traditional lobbying services, we also offer grassroots advocacy and PAC management resources to our clients. We've worked with AU's Washington semester program for several years, and I'm excited to see so many prospective interns for the fall semester on the webinar today. So let me just tell you a little bit about my role at Lobbyit. I'm the government relations manager, and I began working at Lobbyit in January of this year, just a couple of months before COVID-19 started and we had to adjust to working from home. As government relations manager, my main responsibility is to assist our principals with their clients. So this includes direct lobbying to members of Congress and their staff, analyzing existing and proposed legislation and regulatory actions of interest to our clients, and strategizing courses of action to implement our clients' policy agendas. I also assist our firm's business development efforts and have recently signed on my first client at the firm for my own book of business. Finally, and the reason why I'm here today, I also manage Lobbyit's internship program. So a few points about interning remotely from our firm's perspective and my experiences so far with having to adjust for that. This spring was the first time in my career that I've had to supervise interns remotely. We were about 2 months into the spring semester when the DC work from home order began. So fortunately, our interns were already comfortable with the assignments that they had to do, and with a little bit of prep, we were able to adjust to having them completed remotely. One thing I do differently when supervising interns online is check in with my interns via text, email, or phone call. When we were in the office, it was just a matter of walking over to where the interns work to talk to them, make sure that they understood the assignments they were working on, see if they had any questions, and check on their progress. So that's all handled remotely now, of course. To try to keep in touch with our interns and make sure they're doing well and balancing their online coursework with their internships and their life in general. I also try to hold a Zoom call at least once a week with both of our summer interns, ask them how they're managing the internship and their summer classes, and any other life updates that they want to share. One advantage I've found by supervising interns online is that, perhaps paradoxically, I interact with them more often remotely than I was able to in person at the office. This is because I'm stuck at home too. I've been at home since the middle of March and plan to do so for at least the rest of the summer. So when I was in the office, I had to run to congressional office buildings to do in-person meetings during the day. That didn't leave a lot of time to be in the office to check in with my interns in person. So communication could be a little difficult on that end. But being at home has allowed me to, it's just a matter of emailing or phone calling to make sure, check in on the progress of our interns and see how they're doing. It's also made it a lot easier for me to track my interns' workload and progress on current assignments. In addition, the interns feel more comfortable hitting me up with a text or an email when they have a question, rather than waiting to find free time to talk with me at the office. Now, I can't speak to other lobbying firms, but I imagine as we've all had to continue working from home remotely and congressional staff are working from home, they probably are also having similar experiences with how they interact with their interns remotely right now. That said, one of the inherent drawbacks in managing interns remotely is that virtual communication will never be as seamless as in-person communication. It hasn't been a major problem, but compared to working at the office, it can certainly take a bit longer to have a conversation over email, text, or phone call. I have to make sure the intern's available and that they're not, in the midst of some kind of coursework assignment or a workshop through their internship program. So it's a little bit difficult on that end. But to remediate this, when the internship started, we talked openly about expectations regarding communication between my interns and myself. And they understand that when they're on call, just to be available on their phones or email when necessary. And they understand to get back to me in a reasonable time period. I also try to do the same in terms of getting back to my interns when they contact me with a question or a concern. So that's pretty much everything I have to share with my experiences with remote internships so far. Again, thank you very much, and I look forward to answering any questions about Lafayette or interning remotely. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Now we'd like to hear from you, Sydney.
Hi, everyone. So I first want to thank American University for inviting me as a panelist. My name is Sydney Goggans, and I am a rising junior at Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia. My major is English, and I am a film visual culture minor, and I'm originally from Huntsville, Alabama. So originally, I was supposed to be in London this summer as an intern at an advertising agency, but due to COVID, I was stuck with nothing in the beginning. And originally, I was very disappointed, and I thought, I was going to have a very unproductive summer. So then Spelman has sent out an email about American University, so I just jumped at the opportunity, and I was like, why not? And I got in, and the rest is history. So I honestly think this is probably one of the best decisions, the best chances I think I've ever took. I was met with a lot of doubt in the beginning because I didn't know if I could handle a remote internship as well as have a class with American University and have a class with Spelman all at the same time. But honestly, my expectations went above and beyond. As an intern at American Forum, our supervisor gives us the freedom to choose and have our own agency. And the work is a mix of independent and collaborative. So I don't feel stressed or intimidated in the way in which I thought I was going to. I'm gaining skills that I can take with me. So if I do choose to study abroad next summer, I will be more prepared and more ready. So some of my tasks that I do, I write editorials on issues that I personally feel passionate about or issues that I want other people to know. We are currently in the middle of developing a podcast, and this will definitely improve my own people skills and communication skills. It's also collaborative of helping with the social media content and designing for the website, and we're doing a lot more. It's a very multifaceted, and I love that about my internship. It's just a mix of everything. It's not one thing. It is unfortunate that I cannot physically connect with my other interns and my supervisor in the way, if we were in person. But this has definitely helped me in challenging myself and to be a better communicator. I feel like this kind of comes with hitting blessings because this process shows the art and practice of knowing how to communicate effectively through a virtual platform. So it shows that you can overcome adversity within a career through unprecedented times. And then on top of that, I have a wonderful supervisor that cares about our work and supports us with whatever projects we want to do. I personally want to take on an HBCU campaign within my internship because I care about HBCUs since I go to one myself, and my supervisor was very open about it. And also American University, in addition, cares tremendously about their students. Even though I'm not a full-time student, they treat me as if I am one of theirs. So basically what I want you guys to take away is just make sure you take risk and step outside your comfort zone, because I think that's how you grow, and that's how you impress yourself, that's how you impress your supervisor and others around you. So even though a remote internship may not seem like the pot of gold, it honestly has a lot of skills and a lot of hidden blessings that you can definitely get from it.
Thank you, Sydney. Now we'd like to hear from you, Jasmine.
Sorry about that. Hi, my name is Jasmine. I will be a senior at Santa Clara University this fall, and my majors are Spanish Political Science with a minor in Ethnic Studies. And this year I participated in the Washington Semester Program and interned at Jubilee Housing. And so Jubilee Housing is an organization, a nonprofit organization that works to provide affordable and sustainable housing in the DC area. And my job specifically was to work at the Teen Center. And so originally I was there in person and like working directly with the students and working very closely with my supervisor, because it was just my supervisor and I heading up the Teen Center. And then eventually we moved to remote learning. And so what that's looked like now has been, I'm actually still working at least through the end of this month. I need to make that decision. But I do translation work. I design curriculums and teach curriculums. I'm actually teaching a class in a few hours today. I do welfare checks. Also do talks with, so like we meet with our partner organization. So we've been doing a lot of stuff remotely, but we're still getting that information and connecting with people, staff meetings, things of that nature. And so working at Jubilee has been really great because it's just such a flexible job. My supervisor has always given me freedom to like be creative in the process, propose new ideas. He's always asking for my input. And so since moving remotely, I think at first, the first week, there was a little bit of a lag because he was still trying to figure out what I could be able to do. So at that point, I kind of just had to take initiative, because during the internship fair where I first met the representatives of Jubilee, one thing that was proposed was designing curriculums, and we were actually in the process of doing that before spring break and before classes were switched to remote learning. And so yeah, I took initiative and asked, can I make curriculums for the students? And he allowed me to do that. So I'm really happy that I took that step and did ask to do that. And then I've also been helping with Ecology Workshops, which we do every Tuesday. And last week I just taught, I just did a presentation. We had a discussion with the kids in the group. So it's been really great in terms of developing communication skills, being able to like apply my Spanish, like being able to do translation, being able to have that personal relationship with my supervisor. I'm really grateful for that, because it's just been such a great organization. And also just being really able to connect with the students personally. It's like before we were connecting directly, and so I could talk to them and have these conversations. But even now in the classes, I've actually got to have a lot of one-on-one time with students individually, as well as reaching out to them through email, through text messages, the Remind app, just to catch up and get to know them. So like we always do check-ins and meditation, and we try to have other creative components in class. So it's been a lot of fun, and I'm really glad to have worked with this organization.
Thanks, Jasmine. And now we'll hear from Shelby.
Hi, I'm Shelby Doren. I did the spring semester at Washington. I was with Jasmine in many classes, and I'm from Siena College. I'm a rising junior. My major is political science, international relations, with a focus on Russia and post-Soviet state studies. I interned at Meridian International Center, I actually had found them through the internship fair that an American university does, and it was a really surprising blessing. So some of the work that Meridian International Center does, they're an exchange program. So they run multiple programs, too many that I couldn't even remember all of them. But I worked specifically for their Study of the U.S. Institutes program, SUSI. So that's based on bringing college age students to the U.S., teaching them about community engagement work, how to run that, how to use grant money to run community engagement projects in their home countries. And then we send them back. We give them the opportunity to apply for a grant to do some kind of community engagement work. An example of one off the top of my head right now is one student, she is teaching English at a local orphanage. And a lot of them do really amazing work, and it's really inspiring to actually watch them do all this and help them grow in that process. I really enjoyed my work that I did at Meridian International Center. Okay, so remote internship. So as I said, this was a hybrid kind of for us because the first couple months we were in person, we met everyone, we built our relationships. But then for about a month of the internship, we were online. And I didn't really know what to expect because I never had done a remote internship before. So I really kind of just went in with the most optimistic attitude I could, which I would say is the biggest thing you should go in with, is just be optimistic, try and do your best to be very flexible because they're learning as you're learning because they've never been part of this either. So it ended up actually working out really well. It was interesting because of COVID, all of our exchange programs were canceled because you can't be traveling. So we were able to find different things to work on, which was the biggest thing for me, was to keep pushing. What do you want me to do next? What do you want me to do next? I'm not busy, I'm at home, I can do whatever you need me to do. And that really helped me in the long run because they found that I was really beneficial to them and that I was being so flexible and wanting to help them do better. So that was probably the biggest thing I would say, is just being super flexible. I will say though, with going to remote, there were some drawbacks. I know one of my counterparts, so I had another intern with me who worked on a separate program at Meridian, and she was supposed to go to Chicago and meet the participants who were coming. And sadly that got canceled because you weren't allowed to travel. But she was still able to get a lot from it despite that. And I would say remote learning is interesting because you can go to different places that you normally wouldn't. So I'm from New York, and I could still intern at places in DC where I wouldn't get those same opportunities if I was in person in New York. So I would take that as a really big advantage to remote learning and remote internships. And yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Shelby. Now I see that we have quite a few questions that are in the chat, and Marissa Whitaker, our enrollment specialist, is going to field those questions and direct them on where they need to go.
Thanks, Terrell. Yes, we've gotten quite a few great questions, so I'm just going to go through and direct them at our panelists. So this first question is from Edgar, who said he's coming from Brussels. Hello. And the question was, how do your partners navigate students who are in different time zones? So if we have students, perhaps some international students participating in the Washington semester program, how does that work with the time difference? And maybe Amy, you would like to talk a little bit about how our previous students made it work during the spring semester?
Yeah, excellent. Great question. So we do have experience with students coming from Europe and Asia and California, all different time zones. And we have been able to adjust. It has been the case that students who are on a different time zone are sometimes getting up a good chunk of time early, but we've been able to work with employers and students to modify schedules. One important aspect of learning online is creating that professional discipline that we all have to get the job done. And I remember very distinctly one of our Norwegian students who told me about, frankly, one of those, that this was a challenge for him to find that motivation and discipline. But then ultimately, he said, when he was able to find that discipline, he learned more about himself and about ways to stay focused. That, for example, he learned to not be always tuning into a little text message that was coming in on his personal account on his phone. But again, instead, he learned to get up and to have some relationship with the time in DC. But ultimately, when it comes to conversations about working out that remote schedule, we are there to support students and help them advocate and work with employers to find a good common ground. So your time frame does also work with employers in DC. So great question, and we are there to support you and know that we also have experience adjusting with different time zones.
Thanks, Amy. Okay, this is a question for Denice and Justin. Are all or the majority of your interns coming from AU, at least currently? And do you or have you ever ended up hiring AU interns permanently?
You want to go first, Justin? You want me to?
Sure, I'll go first. So for the summer, actually, we have 2 summer interns, and neither of them are from AU. They're from another program. However, we did extend an internship from an AU student who was in the Washington semester program in the spring. She unfortunately was having trouble finding an internship this summer, just given the situation around COVID. And we did have some longer term work that, because she's familiar with the firm and our clients, we felt like we could use her help. So working with her university, we were able to give her a summer internship opportunity that she's actually getting a stipend from her university to complete. For the other part of the question about hiring interns from AU, again, since I've only been at Lobby since January, we haven't hired anyone since I've started. I believe one of our principals who holds a law degree, I believe he did intern at Lobbyet before being hired by the firm several years ago. So it's not out of the question that should there be an opening and we have strong interns for like an entry level position, that we're happy to go through that pool. And then of course, if you did intern for us in the past and you go back to college and maybe you're going into your senior or junior year and a couple of years have passed and we have an opening for a position, we certainly would look back on our strong interns and see if they might be a good match.
Great. So we've been doing this for a long time, and I would say that part of what we like to do with interns, when we have resources, is to hire them. A large percentage of our staff have been interns at some point, and we also stay connected with the people who have been interns as well. So 10 years later, I still get calls from interns from a few years ago. They offer to help out, they offer to volunteer. It just, to me, it's like building a network. And so you're building this network that helps you, in Washington, outside of Washington, because we do media work in the media, whatever you want to do. I had an intern that we hired who later, like 20 years later, came back. She'd written a book. She was now the publisher of a newspaper and all these things. It's just, that's what I think an internship is all about. I mean, I interned and got hired through an internship at my first job as well. So you gain skills, it's the networks too. It's the networks that you gain. And we're always looking for interns. Our interns, we have 2 interns from AU right now. We have another, I think 8 and maybe 3 more coming on in the next week. We're always open to have interns to build, and to bring into the process more ideas. Is great. And we have a lot of different projects with the special projects that some of the interns who've been there from the beginning this semester are working on. So I just think it's a networking thing for interns to be able to connect with other interns. We like to give our interns substantial and substantive work to do. and for them to create kind of their own, their own projects. We go through things that are helpful to us, and they can pick projects or develop projects that are, as long as it's communication based, that's sort of the thing, which is what we do. That's kind of the thing that we do. And they've come up with this survey, which we would love to work with people in getting out to other, to universities to see if their networks would be willing to send out to their students about communication where young people go. We also have a piece on voting, because there's a lot of barriers to voting right now. And we're hearing from a lot of, and that's the other thing that they're working on. A lot of students don't know where, and our op-eds are centered on that in some ways. They don't know where to go. Where do I vote? Do I vote in my home state? Do I vote in the, where I go to the university? What are all of these different things? How do I register? Because a lot of people are first-time voters. And with COVID, it's confusing to a lot of people. So it's good to get that information out, and media is an important way to do that. So yes, we love interns. Yes, we would hire them all if we could. We also have volunteer state boards, so there's opportunities for them to get involved locally as well. So that's one of the advantages that we have, is that we work remotely with people anyway, because we have these state boards at the state level. So if anybody's interested, my biggest thing is that I never keep up with updating my profile on the AU website. So I always have to go back before it expires so we can get our new recruitment of interns. But I'm happy to talk to people if they're interested.
Thanks so much, Denise and Justin. This next question, I think Amy can help us out with. We have a couple questions about the internship fair and how that will operate virtually, in person, what precautions will we take for COVID-19? Amy, can you speak about this a little bit further?
Yes, thanks so much for those questions. So we're actively planning for a robust internship fair that will take place virtually in fall 2020. So we will be in an environment similar to this, and we'll have breakout rooms where students can get more of a professional and personalized interaction with the employers present. And we'll have a diversity of Washington, D.C. area organizations live for students to speak in video and in chat. It will be engaging, and students can get more a feel there for what they'd like to do. Note as well that we're working with students early. In fact, I'm holding a couple times a week some virtual internship advising seminars. We're also holding for our current students some professional development ongoing sessions that are similar to our Here to Career events. Essentially, students are going to learn from AU and from employers alike how to network and how to land an internship. We have these seminars where we're giving students in really bite-sized pieces of information that are easy to understand. We work in teaching students step by step how to land positions, how to market their skills, how to do a practice interview. In these coaching sessions that we have ongoing during the semester as well as pre-arrival, students will be well equipped to land an internship. So our success record remains perfect when it comes to helping students to land the internships that they want. So in Washington semester, when we were in an old-fashioned world where we were doing the historic face-to-face, all the students engaged in the search landed, and that remains the case as we've now transitioned to a virtual and also a hybrid format. So know that we are there to support you in this online format with a virtual internship fair, as well as supplemental activities to help every student land.
Thanks, Amy. And just a couple more questions for you, Amy, as well. We've had a couple questions of people asking, can I only get an internship in politics or policy? So Amy, can you speak about sort of how this process works?
Yeah,
and
great.
maybe some other industries that our interns have landed in the past couple semesters?
Yeah, great questions. So of course, here on the line, it does happen that we have some of the policy and communications areas represented. But in addition to that, we indeed have businesses and foreign policy research, think tank groups, justice organizations, nonprofits, NGOs, working in every sector that is Washington and the world. So there's a diversity of internship sites represented. So no matter the field, we have positions in your area. When it comes to the discovery and figuring out where you want to land, we start first with by asking you questions about who you are, where you want to go. Occasionally students are even flummoxed by that question. And so we still work with them to help define what their strengths are, and then go through a process of this search where we present opportunities to students of the new openings. And I'm perpetually surveying students about, tell me what that fall internship looks like that you have planned, especially in the rapidly changing times. We're in constant communication with employers about their changing needs, and we present those opportunities to you. And so if you're at first feeling a little unsure, presenting these offerings will then start to help you crystallize what you want to do. And so when the Association for Diplomatic Studies and Training, a Department of State offering, reaches out to you, know that our employers are going to help you discover what you want to do. And you'll realize that, yeah, I'm interested in foreign policy, but I also have an interest in doing a little of maybe some research and also communication. You will get those skills in a blended experience with ADST, for example. And we are going to help you to land just the kind of internship that you want in the area of interest. Sometimes students come in with really ambitious plans to say, I want to work at the White House, or I want to be at the Pentagon for the upcoming semester. Well, unfortunately, the window has closed for some of these big name employers. At the same time, if you know that you want this big name organization, we're going to help you get a stepping stone towards that position with an internship that would be in an advocacy organization that relates to what you want to do. Or we will help you get, again, if it's defense related, that maybe you'll work at Washington Corps and they do research on and proposals working with a lot of government agencies. So we're still going to help you get where you want to go for the fall 2020 semester, no matter your field.
Thanks, Amy. We have some questions. I think there's a little bit of confusion, Adam, which hopefully you can clarify about, are internships all online, mentorship versus GAP versus WSP? I know that we have a lot of different admitted and prospective students here from our different programs. So Adam, can you just do a really brief overview?
Sure. Yeah, the one thing, it looks like we've got a lot of questions from mentorship students, and you all received an email from President Burwell on Tuesday outlining what the semester is going to look like. And then you're going to receive an email from us today in terms of the mentorship program. And then we're going to do a webinar specifically for you next Thursday. That's going to go through all of the mentorship. Mentorship will not change very much for the fall. It is going to look very similar to the way it would have looked in fall. The university is actually really working very hard to give all our first year students the experience that they, an in-person experience. So suffice it to say that it's hardly going to change very much at all for mentorship students. But so we're going to skip your questions, and please save them, and please tune in next Thursday for a webinar specifically for MPDC. The one question in terms of, I want to highlight our various programs. The Washington semester program is for primarily juniors and seniors. And that is an opportunity for visiting students to come in and do a semester here, and some exceptional sophomores as well. And I think we have 2 exceptional sophomores here who did the program. And they come for the semester and they do their internship and they're part of AU. The mentorship program is for incoming first year students in PDC, as we call it, who are going to continue on to AU for their 4 years. And then the GAP program is similar to the Washington semester program, but it's for incoming first year students from other schools. In each case, they all have internships and they all take classes for the year. So that's the distinction. It's primarily by class year. So, so Marissa, I think we have a question for our students here from Carolyn Mulligan.
Yes. Yeah, this is a great question. Carolyn asked, did all of the students who are here find their internships through the fair, even those who are in California and New York? So maybe we can have each of our interns just say a little bit about how they found their internship process and through what form, whether it be the database, working with Amy, the fair, something else, how they found that. Yeah, Sydney, do you want to go first?
Hi, yes. So I actually had a conversation with Amy about my interests and what I wanted to do for my internship. And I'm personally interested in media and communications. So once we had our talk, it was then when she sent me an email about the different organizations that I can apply to. It was in a database. And so basically I applied to maybe like 10 internships that I felt that I wanted to intern with, and that's how I got an internship with American Forum.
Great. Jasmine, do you want to speak next?
Sure. I went on the internship database at first because I didn't come to AU like with an internship, just an idea of what I wanted to do. And then I made a list of organizations, and then I went to the internship fair, and that actually changed. I ended up applying to Jubilee, which I didn't expect to. And then there was a really quick turnaround because I had a really great conversation with them. And then I applied to several organizations, and then I chose Jubilee.
Great. And Shelby, do you want to speak now?
Yeah, so I actually, before I came to DC, I started already applying to places that I just literally Googled DC internships, and then I just found a bunch. But then when I went to the internship fair, I wasn't really sure what to expect, but I found two really great organizations that I was super interested in. I had a really great conversation with. We made a personal connection, and I got a follow-up the next day from both of them. And it was really hard choosing between them, but I ended up with Meridian.
I love it.
Great, thank you. Let's see. Trying to make sure we're not covering the same question twice. Amy, we had a question about whether or not internships are ever paid through these programs.
So internships are paid probably around 5% of the time in our program. And when students are paid, it tends to be a modest stipend that might be for some little pizza money, for the occasional pizza delivery. Know that the way that we consider internships is an educational investment. These are internships for credit, where essentially you're able to get this placement on your transcript, where a faculty member is also mentoring you and supervising you to help you learn professional skills. We believe that with our internship employers and the ones that we vetted carefully, that employers are investing their time, expertise, and talent into training you. And we know that they're getting the benefit of your own energy and motivation at their internship sites. But the compensation really does come from the training. So these tend to be very much unpaid internships, especially in the virtual world. It's very hard to come by paid positions. And we know that from our experience and our repertoire of contacts, that the great internships come from employers who are motivated to train you and teach you. And their motivation is not about money or compensation, but again, in the training of you. So we do have very few paid internships, but ultimately we see this as an investment in your career, where this is a stepping stone towards that next opportunity that you'll get. And consider this the same way that you consider investing in your diploma for your school, because this is advancing you forward to help you earn that degree and helping you become more marketable with professional skills that will help you land jobs.
Thanks, Amy. Okay, we have a question for another question for our students here. If you were a student coming this fall to, the Washington Semester Program, one of our programs, based on your experience doing a virtual internship, would you be interested in doing a virtual internship again or some sort of blended in-person virtual internship? Maybe Shelby, you start us off for this one.
Sorry, I just had to unmute myself. Yeah, I definitely would do another virtual internship. I actually have already applied to a few back in New York where I live. Just because, especially since we already have the experience, I really do market myself that way, that I've done virtual internships and I know how it works and I know how to keep up in communication with my counterparts. So yeah, I definitely still see the value in doing a virtual internship or some kind of hybrid. Just because you learn a lot of computer skills. I know I was kind of lacking that going into it, and that was a big thing I really wanted to learn. So I learned a lot of new software, and just being good at communicating with others and getting your ideas through.
Great, thanks, Shelby. Jasmine, do you want to go next?
Sure. I'm not technologically savvy either, but I would also repeat this experience. It was great. Like if a hybrid was an option, I would maybe prefer that, just to like get to have that personal contact at first and then be able to branch out and do virtual work. But also having a virtual internship, like I really enjoyed the process. I was allowed to take more initiative and do more things, I guess, that I wouldn't have really done had we just been in person. So I would do the process again. And then I agree with what Shelby said, that it taught me a lot. And communication, like, although I talk to my supervisor every day, having to be able to check in via email and text message and things like that definitely helped me to stay more on top of communication. So.
Great, thanks, Jasmine. And Sydney?
Yeah, so basically Shelby and Jasmine took the words out of my mouth. Just to piggyback off of them, I would definitely do it again. I've learned a lot. I think I'm taking opportunities that I don't know if I necessarily would have taken if I was in person. For me, I like to stay productive and I like to keep learning. So that's one of the reasons why I will continue to do a virtual internship. And I've also been applying for some in Atlanta. So I agree with 100% everything that they said. So yes, I would.
Great, thank you. And Adam, how are we doing on time here?
It is actually,
You're on mute.
Yep, it's 1:02. So I think we have taken up the hour that we said we would. Terrell, anything else you want to add to this, to our conversation?
You're on mute.
Thank you. Thank you for all of the great questions. And if you get off of this call and then think of more questions, you can always email us at either augap@american.edu or washsem@american.edu. And we can continue to answer your questions and maintain this dialogue. So that's all I have. I really appreciate everybody jumping in to do this so well last minute and help people understand what it's like to do an online internship. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm sorry we didn't get to all the questions, but please feel free to contact us at the, particularly the washsem@american.edu email address, and we'd be happy to get them. And if you've got specific questions for our panelists, we'd be happy to send those along. Yeah, so this was just a bit of a snapshot about what has been a very chaotic time in society and in Washington, but I think and I hope you've gotten a taste of what's involved with a remote internship, both from the student side and the employer side. And again, this is the way the world is going. And so our students here and our employers here are pioneers in one sense. And so I hope you will, if you're interested in a Washington experience at American University, I hope you contact us. If you're interested in another experience, pursue it, but understand that the remote internship and hybrid internships and hybrid experiences is the way we see things going in the future. So thank you again to our panelists, and please be in touch and have a wonderful day.